welcome. This is another episode of my Wild Knitting podcast. Buckle up. Today we're gonna talk about lots of autumn and winter projects, and I'm wearing some knitwear and my finished object. I'm having it on my lap even though it's not cold outside, but just like to be cozy. And I'm drinking some herbal infusion that I made with mugwort, hawthorn berries, Queen Anne's lace, and some yarrow leaves. It's really delicious. It's quite bitter, but I love bitter infusions. We are easing into the autumn season. I love autumn. I love to prepare for the seasons to come. I'm pretty much preserving and harvesting and foraging lots of nice wild ingredients. I'm knitting quite a lot and planning some projects because I want to be prepared for the winter. Last year it was quite cold here, so it's nice to have all the things to keep you warm. So I'm wearing also a knitted tee. This is the Cloudberry Tee by Fiber Tales. I really like this. This top is a drop. It has a drop shoulder construction and it's knitted top down. I think it's a really interesting construction, and I really like this top. I knitted it with a bamboo and cotton blend, and it peels a bit, this yarn, to be honest, but I really like the drape and how it feels. So I've been wearing it quite a lot, and I love the bubbles and the color work. Okay, so today I want to share with you some of the projects I've been working on and some fibers that I received, some yarns that I received, and some of my projects that the future plans for these yarns that I received. So first finished object, why am I holding it like this, is a shawl. It's a massive shawl, it's quite a big shawl that I knitted for myself, and this is my own design, I would say. I'm a person who really likes to experiment, and I really rarely follow all of the rules or all of the steps of recipes and patterns. I always kind of derail. I always kind of add some different details to maybe a recipe, or in this case a pattern. So what I've done, I just started a super simple free shawl by Mirella Moments, I believe, and it's a shawl, it's a free pattern and it's super simple. So I did that the first setup rows to start the shawl. So I think I followed that pattern for the first rows, something like that. And then I decided, once I understood how the construction of a shawl worked, because this is my first or second real shawl. I knitted another one, but it was more like a scarf. But so once I understood how the shawl was constructed, I decided to add some texture work. And so what I've done here is I've done one row, maybe like this. So I think I knitted like 15 rows of stockinette with the proper increases, and then I've done 3 rows of moss stitch, right? And then I've done more stockinette, and then I did knit 2 and then I did hold the next stitch in front of the work and knit the next 2 stitches and then knit the stitch that was on hold. So it's kind of like the starting of a cable, and then I just continue and repeated that stitch pattern, and then I just purled. So those were 2 of the texture work I added, and then I added some little bubbles on both sides of the spine. And it's interesting because these bubbles, I noticed, they kind of rest more or less on top of my shoulders, more or less, quite this one. So it's really nice. And then I did some yarn overs. I did more moss stitch rows, some yarn overs here. So I did a yarn over, and then knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, and so on. So I mixed all of this different texture work in this field of stockinette. I called this shawl Blackberry and Bark. I am not writing a pattern, at least not yet. That's not my intention at the moment. I like to, in this phase of my life, I like to design things because I like to experiment with different texture, different stitches and patterns, but I'm not really interested in designing a pattern to share with the world, mostly because I'm enjoying the process of creating and experimenting rather than always thinking about sharing it, if that makes sense. And yeah, so I think that maybe in the future I could design a pattern of any pattern that I want to design, but right now I'm okay with really enjoying what I create. And sometimes not everyone likes to just experiment a lot with a craft. I know lots of people like to just follow a pattern or some instructions, and I think that's I just so respect people that are very meticulous and they really like to follow, and they really follow every step of the instruction of something. I am a little wild, and I don't want to judge it. We're all different, and that's nice. So I absolutely love it. I already blocked it. I just need to weave in some ends, 2 ends actually. But I really love it, and we have been doing a knit along. It's still on, it's still going. It's going to last until December, and it's called Shall We Shawl Knit Along. If you want to follow the hashtag on Instagram or just, participate. We created a little, it's not so little actually, we created a group on Instagram, like a group chat, and we're so many and we're sharing so many beautiful pictures of our progresses and the yarn choices and the pattern choices. We did a cast on little party. Not everyone participated because it was kind of like improvised and on Zoom, and we plan to do maybe another or some other Zoom meeting where we just share what we're working on and we knit together, and it has been so much fun. But I'm kind of taking a little break from Instagram. Sometimes I'm popping in and like checking and sharing also my project that I'm gonna show you, and but I'm not constantly present. I need to really tune in with my body and focus more on the things that I need to do, and they are more like analog rather than digital, at least at this stage of my life, because I can spend quite sometimes on the screen, and I would rather do something else. And I'm still pretty much online a lot because I am working online, but I need some breaks from especially Instagram, I think. Yeah. But I am really enjoying seeing everyone's projects. There are some beautiful, beautiful projects. Everyone is so joyful and so enjoying their projects. And there are people that have been knitting for so many years, and there are people that are in the knit along and that's their first project. And for me, I just feel so honored and so happy to be part of this community. So if you want to share, we're still doing the shawl knit along. And this wasn't really part of the knit along because I started it before the knit along, and but I finished it this day, so it could be part of it. But I casted on another project. Oh, I forgot to tell you about the yarn. So I used some yarn that I had in my stash. Maybe I should take it. I'm gonna get it because so you can see it. Woo! Okay, so for this shawl I used this beautiful rustic wool. This is a very rustic wool. It has also bits of hay in it. I think it's a DK way yarn, and it's absolutely beautiful. I started a cardigan a year ago with this yarn, but it was a bit too prickly, so I kind of unraveled it. I think right now I would, because I still have 4 skeins of this yarn. This yarn, I bought it from a website. It was an Etsy shop at that time, but now they created a website, and it's called Yarn Home. They have such rustic and beautiful yarns, and they're all kind of non-superwash, I would say, yarns, and very affordable. It's a little family-owned business, I believe, called Yarn Home, and based in Lithuania, I believe, but not 100% sure. And this is the most beautiful chocolate brown, and I love it, and I'm so happy I still have 4 skeins. I don't think they will be enough for a sweater for myself, but I have lots of other same skeins but different colors. I have a beige and a yellow that I would like to, maybe I can create an Icelandic color work sweater, something like that. We'll see. But I held this yarn together with some drops silk, kid silk mohair, and it created this beautiful fabric. I think I'm realizing more and more that I kind of almost didn't need the silk mohair, but you know, it created this extra warmth, but I think it would be beautiful anyway without even the silk mohair. But that was the yarn I used, and I used 4 skeins, so I had 8 skeins of this yarn in my stash. And yes, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful yarn, and I bought quite a lot of it because it was on sale, and yeah, I took that opportunity. So now this is the next project that I'm going to show you. So this was a very happy project for me. I enjoyed it all the way. Like, I couldn't stop knitting on this. I had other projects to work on, but I was just so enjoying this. And I could have continued, and I could have created like a huge cloak, something like cloak. Can you say cloak? Like a huge blankety, something like that. But I think this size is good. So, okay, I started for another shawl for the knit along, and this is a pure pleasure. I don't know how to describe this, how much joy it has been bringing me every time I knit on it. And I'm kind of like knitting it slowly and slower than I normally would with other projects that are kind of exciting for me. I'm kind of really savoring it. And look at the color. My goodness, I love this texture. And I'm using, this is like a moss stitch. This is the moss stitch section of the Calville shawl by Gabriella from the Merryweather knitting podcast. She is so amazing. I absolutely love this pattern. And this is the shawl that I cast on for the Shall We Shawl knit along, and it's just giving me so much joy. So I'm at the first kind of section with this moss stitch, and I love also this little kind of like braid at the center. It's not really a braid, but I love it. And I'm using, I showed it in the previous podcast episode, I'm using I'm holding together 3 different yarns. So it's a little, I noticed, I knew it already, but like knitting with 3 strands of 3 different yarns is not so easy. I mean, it is easy in the sense that it's not like a complicated technique or anything, but you need to, pay attention that all of the different skeins don't get tangled with one another. But I'm just really savoring this project and being really more like slow than usual. And I'm using these townhouse yarns. This is the Trinity 2 ply by this English townhouse yarns company, and this is hand dyed, and the shade is single malt and dyed in Ireland. I bought it in Ireland and met the lady who dyed it, and this is for me so luxurious and beautiful. 55% merino and 45% silk, and it's a lace way yarn. Then I'm using some kid silk mohair and a bamboo cone from the company Silk City Fibers. This is the color Toffee 734. Love all of these colors together. They created an absolutely beautiful texture. I love this, and I should have brought, no, yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. I'm really enjoying it and really taking my time. I think this project will take a while, and not because I don't have energies to knit on it, but because I want to really savor it and feel it in my knitting, really enjoy it, be indulgent with it. That is the shawl. Now we're done with shawls, and let's talk about this project. Okay, this project, so first about this one. This is a project I showed the other episode, and it's still, I basically haven't made any progresses. I think I knitted like 5 centimeters or something like that, is a sweater for Mike. This is the Ingrid summer sweater by Gregoria Fibers, and it's a very beautiful project. I think it's a drop shoulder construction, and it's very beautiful, but I'm enjoying, like, how can I explain this? Like, I'm enjoying the pattern and the construction, but because it's a summer garment, I am not really in the mood to knit with summer or like plant-based fibers right now. Like, I love them, but I kind of want to knit something for the winter. And because it has all of this yarn overs, and this kind of like holes, it's taking me a while. This is a project that I think it will take me a long while to finish, because this, I'm not 100% enjoying it. It's more like, oh, I want to finish it, rather than, oh, I want to knit on it, you know. And I think that if the weather was getting warmer and warmer, you know, if it was spring or something, and I would probably knit it more, but now it's just, yes. So I'm kind of planning to knit another sweater for Mika with a yarn that I have in my stash. So that's something that I'll think I'll prioritize. But Mika is not in a rush. He doesn't want it now, this sweater. He just, you know, he's happy to have it anytime. So we'll see if he will receive it next year or this year. We'll see. Okay, so I casted on another project in the time between the last episode and this one. Slipping stitches, and this is a drop shoulder pattern, drop shoulder sweater for myself. And this is, I have mixed feelings about this. I absolutely love the color and the construction. So this one, what I've done with this sweater, I've kind of took inspiration and kind of copied the Fiber Tales Cloudberry Tee pattern, because I really like this drop shoulder top down construction of this pattern that I talked about before. And so I kind of took inspiration and kind of copied the construction to knit this sweater, and it fits absolutely beautifully on me. And I decided to create this sweater and knit this sweater because I wanted a sweater that was very simple, like with this drop shoulder construction that I could wear everywhere without really caring too much. So I bought a very inexpensive yarn, and while I love how it turned out and I am gonna wear it a lot, I don't want to support this company any longer. And I think I talked about this sometimes, about this company. I'm using Drops Flora and Drops Kid Silk together. So the Drops Kid Silk Mohair from Drops Design is a really good yarn. Like, I really like it. It's the only other yarn that I like. I like the Bumuline from Drops Design and this one. The other yarns that I tried from this company weren't really, they didn't have that extra X factor or extra, they were a bit dull, if that makes sense. And this doesn't have anything wrong in it, you know. This is the color 15, and this is an alpaca and wool blend. It doesn't have any synthetic fiber, so it's just alpaca and wool, 65% wool and 35% alpaca. But I mentioned that in my latest video. This feels that the soul of this fiber has been stripped out. I don't know, maybe I'm too harsh, but that's how it feels on my hands. It feels a bit dull. And while I love how it turned out, this garment, and I'm gonna cherish this garment a lot, even though this yarn wasn't probably created with a lot of care. And this is what I want to move towards. I respect myself and those who can't afford super ethically made yarns. But I think there are companies that are still very affordable, maybe not €1 at skein type of affordability, but there are companies that are very fair with their customers, with their production steps, and with animals. So I want to find those companies, and since I'm a knitter, I'm spending a lot of time knitting garments. I want to also know that the fibers that I use were coming from a place of care and love and respect. And that's not always easy to find, and especially when you don't have like a huge budget to spend on. But I think I want to find other ways to buy yarns and to buy yarns that are sustainable. Maybe, I don't know, do yarn swaps, or go on Ravelry and ask people if I could buy some of their yarns that they have in the stash and they don't use. There are all of those. There are different ways to acquire yarns that are maybe more ethically produced, and they have a lot of love in them, and they can be as affordable as maybe a commercial yarn. And I still have quite few skeins of different yarns that I bought from this company, and I'm not gonna throw them away. Some of them probably I'm gonna gift them, some of them I'm gonna still use in some projects, but I think in the future I think I'm not gonna support this company. And some people have been telling me that the drops have been writing in their website that they have really ethical practices and they're very sustainable. But you know what? When I was studying design for sustainability in Sweden, I came across this term that probably you also have heard before, which is greenwashing. So greenwashing essentially means to use buzzwords and words that can appeal to the customers, such as sustainability, ethical and green, and all of those terms, but not really backing up your action and not really meaning those words. So it's quite easy to add on a website, our yarns are ethically produced in Peru or here or there, whatever. But then the price scale is absolutely too low for those yarns to be ethical. And I don't want to be absolutely, negative. And if you love Drops Design, sorry, there is a mosquito. If you love Drops Design, I love their mohair, silk mohair yarns, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever. I love them. They absolutely delicious, but I would like to try different yarns, and maybe I'll knit less but with yarns that I really feel connected to. So that's something that I've been thinking for a while now. I've been talking about this here and there, and I still, bought skeins from them because they were affordable, they were on sale, and, I didn't have a huge budget, and I still don't have a huge budget, but I think I want to find ways to get different fibers that feel more aligned with what I strive for. And I don't judge absolutely those who still want to support this company, to buy their yarns. I think that is beautiful that we are, as knitters, are making garments for ourselves and our loved ones with fibers that we can get and we find, so I don't want to judge at all people and what they use, what fibers they use, but that's how I feel. And sometimes, choosing to not support commercial companies such as Drops Design feels a bit like, self-righteous, like, I'm like not supporting them, I don't want to support them because I want to be ethical. It's not about I want to be ethical, but I think I put so much time and love in what I create, and I wanted to know that the materials that I use are being produced and created with at least half of the amount of time and care I put inside. And I think that that's possible, there is such an abundance of materials in this world, and if we all start to think in this way and support companies that are, thinking in this way, then the world gets better, I think. I don't know if I was clear enough. We've been having some discussions in the comments, and we've been talking about these things in other episodes. I've been talking about these things in other episodes. I kind of touch these topics a little bit, and I didn't really want to be too harsh on myself and on others. And people have been telling me like, oh, in their website they write this and that, but I don't believe. Like, I've been seeing, I worked in marketing, I worked with design, I know how easy it is for companies to write green, organic and sustainable and not being actually meaning those words. They're just like empty words. We want facts, and not like just fake facts. So I don't really believe that. And if you want to believe that and you don't want to research, it's okay. Like, I'm not here to teaching anything. I'm not that eloquent, to be honest. But yeah, that's kind of my decision, and it's kind of like a bit of a difficult decision sometimes because these yarns are cheap. But there are beautiful yarns that you can find around you, and I think it's also very interesting for me to explore different more rustic fibers and find little companies and share them instead, then because I still have a voice. Even if we're a little community, I still talk about these things. I still share things online and people see them, and then I feel a little bit responsible sometimes we see a beautiful yarn from, or a beautiful finished object from a podcaster, and then we want to buy that yarn. So that's the influence. And talking about more ethical yarns, or at least small women-owned businesses, I got contacted by Addie. She has a business, small business, where she hand dyes her yarns and she sells them. And her business is called Ruby and Roses Yarn. And she sent me some of her yarns to try them. And I'm just so grateful. She also has a podcast, a YouTube channel, so I'll link her in the description box. And she's coming up with a new collection. The collection will be out, I think, the 18th of September. This new collection is inspired by letter writing. In fact, this collection is called The Letter Writer, I think. And check her out. I'll add also her Instagram and her website on the description box. But so she sent me some skeins of her new colors, hand-dyed yarns. And this was one. So this is a beautiful mauve color. There is a plant called mallow, common mallow, malva, and this plant has these beautiful violetish flowers, and they have the same color of this beautiful skein of yarn. And this is the Love Note color in the base, Fragrant Rose base, and it's 100 grams and more or less 383 yards, 3 ply, and it's 80% merino, 10% cashmere and 10% nylon. It's really nice. I created a little swatch, so I caked up yesterday this skein. She sent me, let me just she's so professional in the way she explains things, and in the way she talks about her yarns. So I think I'm gonna insert just a little clip where she talks about this collection, so because she's more professional.
I've had this idea to do a collection based upon the theme The Letter Writer. So it's just a really special thing that's close to my heart that I've wanted to just create colorways around. So The Letter Writer is just this quintessential idea that brings to mind the forgotten art of letter writing. Made popular during the Victorian era, letter writing became a part of history. I really hoped to capture those romanticized and traditional moments in these colorways.
Yes, so she sent me 3 skeins of this beautiful Love Note, and yesterday I caked up by hand this little ball together, and she sent those skeins together with some silk mohair. And look at this color. It has notes of gray and mauve and white and pink. This is absolutely gorgeous. So to be honest, I don't really gravitate to these colors. Usually I gravitate more towards very earthy, like dark brown, and like browns in general, and greens and rust colors, like pumpkin colors. But I think that this color, this mauve, common mallow color, it's really beautiful. And I knitted up a little, just this very small swatch. This, it doesn't have like a warm undertone. It's more like a cooler undertone, if that makes sense. And I am deciding the pattern I want to knit with this yarn. I think I have different patterns in my queue that I want to knit with this yarn. But since the color is a very, vibrant and a very different color from the colors I usually wear, I want to create something that I know I'll, really enjoy wearing, and because this yarn is absolutely beautiful. And I forgot to tell you this, the silk mohair one, it's called Tattered Pages, the color. And she's releasing this collection inspired by letter writing, and there are so many like gorgeous colors. She sent me also some mini skeins. So she sent me a a sweater quantity of those beautiful mauve, common mallow flowers colors. And then she sent me 2 sets of mini skeins. I mean, my goodness, so much. So I would like to gift some of these to the podcast, maybe do a little giveaway, but I'm feeling so greedy. I'm feeling like I love these. Some of them, as I said, are not really in my color palette. Like, I'm not usually a fan of these bright pinks and violets, but I think they would be so fun to knit on, and then I can, a bag, I can gift them to friends and family, or I could make socks. I think these are more like sock based fibers. So this is the tonal 7 mini skeins, and this is 7 variegated and speckled colorways. This is 85% merino, 15% nylon, and each skein is 20 grams. So this is the kind of more tonal colorway. Beautiful. And this, I think, is so fun. This is so beautiful. How can she make these beautiful colors? This is the speckled color combination, because it has all of these, the little skeins have all of these little speckles. Look at this. Beautiful. Some blues and greens and browns. Beautiful. Maybe I will create a headband for myself with this mini skein. Love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Chatty. You know what? I think I'll gift some skeins of this beautiful yarn maybe I'll do a giveaway at some point. But if you want to get some of them, I'll keep them for myself because I want to knit socks with them. I'm sorry, but that's what I want to do. And I think if you want to support Adi, she has a beautiful business. She is so young. I think she's 20, something like that, 19, 20. And she's so professional. She's working so hard to dye beautiful, beautiful colors. And she's working so hard. She's really curating and, putting her art in her business. And I think it's really beautiful to support her. And she's based in the US. So if you're from the US, you can support her. It will be more like a local business to support, even though the US is pretty huge. But she's she sends, I think she ships all over the world. She shipped them to me, so you can buy them. And this is her new collection, the letter writer, with all of these beautiful, absolutely beautiful yarns. And I am planning to knit something really interesting. So the past few days I've been looking at patterns, and it was so hard for me to decide what to knit with this, because I could knit so many different things. Yeah, I did a little swatch because I wanted to know how many stitches I had per 10 centimeters with needle size 4 millimeters. I think needle size 4 millimeter is perfect for these two yarns combined. And I have 20 stitches per 10 centimeters, so there are many patterns that I could knit, and I have two. I think I'll do some modifications, but I have two that I'm indecisive between two. So one is the waffle cardigan by Pernille Larsen, I believe her name is, and it's a very interesting, very romantic cardigan with a very romantic stitch pattern, I think. And it's very fluffy. I think it's knitted with knitting for olive mohair, silk mohair, like 3 strands, something like that. But I think I could knit it with this yarn. However, I also found another pattern which I think would be my pattern of choice when I wanted to knit cardigans, and it's called Talk or Tulk. I don't know how to pronounce it. And she has beautiful, beautiful patterns. But I found this cardigan pattern, and I really like that it's kind of like a lazy construction where you knit the neckband and the bottom band all like while you knit the cardigan, so you don't have to knit it afterwards. It's beautiful. I think the construction, also the shoulders. Yeah, these two are the cardigans. I could knit other sweaters or whatever, but I really need cardigans in my wardrobe. But so this is the cardigan Talk, the ultimate lazy cardigan, she describes it. And it's a very super simple cardigan. I think it's knitted top down. She's gorgeous. I could actually put a picture instead of showing you like this, but yeah. And so I think I'll knit that cardigan with this beautiful yarn, and I'm kind of like filming the process of me figuring out what pattern I wanted to knit and knitting it. So it will be like a little knitting journey type of video where I knit a pattern from start to end, but we'll see. But yeah, I received these beautiful yarns, and I'm so excited to knit socks and, you know, different like little objects with these babies, and maybe some of them I'll gift them. But yeah, as I said, I'm feeling a little bit greedy. Yeah, but I'm very, very happy for having the opportunity to try these beautiful yarns that Adi sent me, and to try these colors that are very out of my comfort zone, but they look absolutely gorgeous, and I think they will look beautiful with a simple, you know, a simple cardigan. And I think if I'll add also my handmade wooden buttons to the cardigan, it would be such a precious garment. So thank you so much, Adi. So please go and check Adi's company Ruby and Roses online, and if you want to check her new collection, go to the website that I link down below, and get your beautiful yarns from her. And the collection is coming out the 18th of September, so very soon. And you can also go to Instagram, because she is very active on Instagram, and she shows all of the different color blends and how she colors them. It's really interesting. So thank you so much, Adi, for sending me this. I'll knit many things and I'll share them with you. But I'm very, very glad I can collaborate with people like Adi. She was absolutely professional and always very kind, and thank you. So that's something that I was really excited to show you. This is my little swatch. I don't swatch so often, so now you understand how excited I am. And let me drink a little. I'm gonna quickly show you some other projects I've been working on. I took a break. So now we are going into the realm of socks. However, I think it would be a bit boring for you to watch me talking about very basic vanilla socks, but this is what I have. So I knitted 4 pairs of vanilla socks in the past 1.5 months. I really was in a sock mojo, and I kind of still enjoy knitting socks a lot. It's just that I went to also knit other garments. So I knitted 4 pairs of socks, and I followed one pattern, kind of followed, and is the Everyday Socks by Petite Knit. Now, I love that pattern. I like some Petite Knit patterns, but I think, yeah, I didn't knit so many Petite Knit patterns. This is my second patterns from her, and it's good like that. I'm okay with not knitting too many of a very famous designer, and I think there is a reason why she's famous. Her patterns are beautiful, but I've heard they're not super size inclusive, and I don't know. I think I want to support the designers that are size inclusive, but it doesn't always happen, you know. We'll see. But the socks are quite size inclusive, and I like this pattern pretty much. So it has a German short row heel construction, and it's knitted cuff down, and then you decrease for the toes. So I knitted these two using Drops Fables, which is a sock yarn from Drops Design that I mentioned, a company I mentioned before. And it was super fun because it was like a self-striping yarn, and I'm really enjoying when the color kind of reveals itself while I knit. But to be honest, I enjoyed knitting on these ones more because the yarn was a bit different. It was from the brand Regia sock, and it has the same fiber content as these Drops Fables yarns, but it feels a bit more sturdy, the Regia one, even if it has the same exact amount of nylon or polyamide and wool. So I don't know why this feels a bit more sturdy than this, but so this one I used this very simple gray Regia sock yarn, and then I added a little color work just for fun that I kind of created myself as usual. And you can wear them like this. So these two are for me. I need more socks because I wear them a lot during the winter. We have a very cold floor, and even if I use beautiful slippers, it's nice to have warm feet. So my goal for this year is to knit 7 pairs of socks for myself and for others. Not 7 for others, but socks for others as well. I think 7 pairs are perfect amount. Then I have 1 pair a day and abundance. And so now I have 3 pairs. This is also really nice. I think I used this self-striping greenish yarn and then a brown one. I don't remember the numbers, but it doesn't really matter. You can, if you go to their website, there are all of these yarns. They're very clearly distinguishable. And these ones are also absolutely beautiful, I think, with the self-striping yarn from Regia. And these ones are a gift, and these are a gift as well. So very nice that I have some gifts. At least I don't feel bad knitting only for myself, which is absolutely fine, by the way. I'm gonna knit for myself a lot. If people want to knit for themselves, they can. And they shouldn't force knitters to knit for others. I think that it happens so often in my life that some friends ask me to knit things for them, and they said, I will pay you. And I'm like, that's the last thing I want, to be paid for my knitwear. Absolutely not. Thank you very much. If you pay me for a sweater that I knit for you, you will need to give me quite a lot of money because it's a lot of hours and I don't want to be underpaid. So I don't want to be paid. I don't want to ask for money for a knitted garment. And it's quite, I think it's hard to put some boundaries with friends, especially those who are not makers, who don't know how much time it takes, and to be very kind of kind and but still put up some boundaries and say like, it takes me 40 to 50 hours to knit a sweater. I guess just said a random number, but it takes a while to knit a sweater, and it's not, I need to focus on other things. And they're like, but I'll pay you, I prefer to pay you than H&M. And I'm like, there's quite some difference between me and H&M garments, to be honest. But yeah, how do you find it when friends come up to you and they are asking you to knit something for them? I mean, I like to knit something for my friends if it comes from my side, if it's like a spontaneous project, like, oh, I would like to knit this thing for this person, or oh, I knitted this and I think I could gift it to someone. Like, that's something that I really love to do. But I don't like when people are asking me to knit something for them. Okay, so I have another whip that I'm gonna show you, which is sock related. Sorry, mosquito, I think I'm gonna end your life if I find you. But anyhow, so I have another pair of socks that I'm knitting, and they're knitted with the same yarn, but they have a different yarn for the toes and the heel and the calf, and these are I guess for myself, I could give them maybe if I feel stressed for Christmas presents, but I don't want to feel stressed for when I want to knit something for others. Even if it's like Christmas is coming, who cares? I just don't want stress to cloud my knitting practices. So we'll see. I'm gonna be a unapologetic knitter. I just want to knit things that give me joy and don't feel stress. And if it happens that I knit for someone that I love, that's beautiful. Otherwise, I'll keep it. But these are beautiful, beautiful. I think I love I love these two yarns together. So this is the Regia sock yarn, and this is Drops Fables, and this one I bought it a month ago, more or less, and this one I had it in my stash for a while. I've been having it for a while now, and I like to use up everything. Maybe I'll knit another pair with this as the main color, and then this one for like the toes and the heel and the calf. We'll see. But I finished one sock, and I've been starting the second one. I think part of the reason why I had the sock mojo, and I still have the sock mojo, is the needles. I was using the magic loop and I didn't really like it. And I still use the magic loop when I'm decreasing for the toes here, because I have a lot less stitches and you can't do magic loop with the little small circulars. But I knit most of the sock with this little, it's 20 centimeters cable needles, and this is needle size 2.25, and I love this. What I do, so I knit socks these days when I go out walking, because they're a very little project to bring with me. So what I do is that I put the yarn inside this pouch that I was gifted some years ago, and I keep it there, and then I just walk and knit. I love that. I feel very excited with all of the projects that I have, and I'm so excited to cast on a cardigan with that beautiful yarn that Addie sent me. There is a bug. Wants to go out. I'll let you out in a second, right? So now I'm really happy I opened a Patreon account, and I thank you so much for your support there. If you joined us, and in there I'll share different things. I'm about to share a recipe with chocolate. It's a dessert recipe, and nettle seeds. Delicious. So if you want to join us, I'll leave the link in the description box. We'll see what will happen. I'm pretty much feeling these autumnal vibes, and relaxing a bit and finding my own joy, and focusing on my own things rather than always being available for everyone, which I also like to be sometimes. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you liked this one. It was a quite sleepy one. I felt that my energies were there, but very like calm. Maybe it was the tea that really like relaxed me, tuned in, root into my body. And I need to open this mosquito net, because there are two bags, there are two insects that are eager to go out, and I need to let them out. So I thank you so much for being here. I see you next time.